Welcome to the capital of Spain and welcome to our tour of 50 places in Madrid that we think are really worth visiting. If this is your first time in Madrid, we hope this list will give you lots of ideas for your stay in the city. If you are a Madrid veteran, we hope you will discover some places you didn't know about and inspire you to visit them. Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello! Welcome to the channel where we want you to be happier traveling around the Iberian Peninsula with the help of our videos and of our self-guided walking tours. Let's start with a list in alphabetical order. You will find links to all the places mentioned during the program in the first comment below the video. CaixaForum Madrid is the name of a cultural center owned by Bank La Caixa. The building occupies a former abandoned power plant, which was rebuilt and given a rusted metal cover. In the building next to the center, there is a vertical garden consisting of 15,000 plants. The red of the building contrasts with the green of the plants. In addition to its permanent collection, CaixaForum hosts temporary exhibitions which are usually of excellent quality. The metro station Estación del Arte, Line 1, is very close to CaixaForum. The center is open from Monday to Sunday and you have to pay to get in. The Casa de Campo, literally country house, is an extensive green area of more than 1,700 hectares that, in addition to being the largest public park in Madrid, is the real lung of the city. To give you an idea of its size, it is 5 times larger than Central Park in New York. Inside the park is the Lago de la Casa de Campo, a lake very popular among the locals, both for walking and relaxing and for practicing sports. There are also several leisure facilities, such as the Parque de Atracciones de Madrid, the local amusement park, which we will talk about later, the zoo and the aquarium. To get to the lake of the Casa de Campo, travel to Lago Metro Station, Line 10. To get to the amusement park, go to Batan Station on the same line, 10. The distance from the lake to the center of Madrid is not that big, so you could go by metro and walk back from the lake. It's a very pleasant walk. Visiting the park is free. You have to buy tickets for the amusement park, the aquarium and the zoo. The Casa de la Moneda is a gigantic building that houses the Fábrica Nacional de Moneda y Timbre, the Spanish Mint, a public institution in charge of printing coins and banknotes, as well as other materials. Inside is the Museo Casa de la Moneda, the Mint Museum, one of the most important in the world in this field. Its collection allows the visitor to retrace the history of currency from its origins to the present day. The museum also houses all the Spanish postage stamps printed since 1850 and the National Lottery tickets. In addition to all this, followers of the television series Money Heist will already know that the Mint was the target of the gang's first major robbery. The O'Donnell Station, Metro Line 6, is next to the Mint. The museum is open Tuesdays through Sunday. Admission to the museum is free, but don't forget to bring your ID or passport. You will need it to enter the museum. The Cathedral of Madrid, full name Catedral de Santa María la Real de la Almudena, or simply Catedral de la Almudena, is a modern building. Construction began in 1883 and was not completed until 1993, when it was consecrated by Pope John Paul II. In addition to visiting the interior of the temple, you can go up to the terraces of the cathedral with beautiful views of the surroundings. The cathedral is next to the Royal Palace of Madrid, and the nearest metro station is Opera, lines 2 and 5. It opens from Monday to Sunday. The visit to the temple is free. You pay if you want to go to the museum and the terraces. Cuatro Torres, 4 Towers, is the name of a business park in the north of Madrid. It has 4 skyscrapers, the tallest buildings not only in Madrid but in all of Spain. A 5th building was recently added to the complex, turning the Cuatro Torres into Cinco Torres, 5 towers. The buildings house offices but also a hotel. For those who live in a city with many skyscrapers, the 5 towers may not be impressive, but in the context of Madrid, they are a very striking presence on the skyline of the city and a costume to such heights. And it features skyscrapers designed by British architect Norman Foster and Argentinian architect Cesar Pelli. The Begoña metro station, line 10, is at the foot of the 5 towers. You can walk around the exterior of the buildings free of charge. The Círculo de Bellas Artes, the Circle of Fine Arts, is a cultural institution. It appears on this list because of its rooftop, which offers some of the best views of Madrid, allowing you to contemplate the cityscape from an unusual perspective. Gran Vía on one side, Plaza de Cibeles on the other, and as far as the eye can see. In addition to the views, you can have lunch or dinner at the Terrace restaurant. It is a very popular place to have a drink, although the prices are not inviting, as you pay for the drink and for the views. To go up the terrace, you have to take an elevator in the hall that gives direct access to the top floor. Tickets to go up to the terrace must be purchased from a vending machine located on the first floor. The metro stations Banco de España and Sevilla on line 2 are very close by. The terrace is open from Monday to Sunday and you have to pay to go up. The Congreso de los Diputados, the Congress, is the seat of legislative power in Spain. It was built in the 19th century on the site of a former convent. The facade has a neoclassical design. The impressive lions guarding the entrance to the building were forged from cannons used in the Spanish Wars in Africa during the 19th century. The large portico that frames the main door has a huge pediment at the top depicting Spain, accompanied by symbolic statues. This entrance is only used once a year when the King of Spain inaugurates the parliamentary year. The metro stations Banco de España and Sevilla on line 2 are very close. The Congress is not open to the public. The Ermita de San Antonio de la Florida, the chapel of Saint Anthony of the Florida, was built in the 18th century and has a very close relationship with the painter Francisco de Goya, who not only painted the frescoes that decorate the chapel, but is also buried in it. Goya's frescoes constitute an artistic ensemble of great value that impresses those who contemplate them. In 1928, a twin chapel was built next to the original one. The original one contains the paintings and Goya's tomb, while the second one is used for worship. Bus lines 41, 46 and 75 stop near the chapel. The museum is open from Tuesday to Sunday. Visits are free of charge. Inside the Telefónica building, the building that dominates the center of Madrid and is one of the first skyscrapers built in Europe, is the Espacio Fundación Telefónica, the Telefónica Foundation space, a cultural center opened in 2012, where in addition to a permanent collection related to telecommunications, you can see temporary exhibitions of very diverse themes, always interesting. The Gran Vía station on metro lines 1 and 5 is almost at the door. The Espacio is open from Tuesday to Sunday and admission is free. Estación de Atocha station is the most important railway station not only in Madrid but in all of Spain. The original Atocha station, then known as Estación del Mediodía, was inaugurated in 1892. Its facade is considered a masterpiece of 19th century railway architecture. A collaborator of Eiffel directed the work. Throughout its history, the station has undergone several renovations and extensions. The most important was at the end of the 20th century with the arrival of the high-speed train. As the dimensions of the station were insufficient for the circulation of the new type of train, it was necessary to carry out a major reform, directed by the Spanish architect Rafael Moneo. 2 completely new stations were built, Puerta de Atocha for high-speed trains and Atocha Cercanías for suburban trains. The old station has been preserved and inside, where the trucks and trains used to be, there is now a beautiful tropical garden with plants brought from different parts of the world. The Atocha metro station on Line 1 is inside the station itself. The Faro de Moncloa, the Moncloa Lighthouse, is a modern observation tower that was designed with the sole purpose of being a viewpoint, one of the most spectacular in Madrid. It was erected in 1992 and can be climbed by a panoramic elevator to almost the top of its 92 meters high. The views of almost 360 degrees of the city of Madrid are spectacular, as well as those of the mountains surrounding the capital. Several information panels located in front of the windows allow you to identify the main buildings and places of interest that can be seen from the top of the viewpoint. The nearest metro station is Moncloa, lines 3 and 6, and you pay to go up to the viewpoint. The Galería de las Colecciones Reales, the Royal Collections Gallery, is the most recent addition to the long list of extraordinary museums in Madrid. It is located between the Cathedral and the Royal Palace. The vertical space it occupies is carved into the rock. It is one of those museums in which the content is as important as the impressive space that houses it. The museum has 3 floors connected by ramps and elevators. On each floor there is a gigantic room with huge ceilings where valuable works of art from the collections of the Spanish monarchy are presented, including paintings, sculptures, architecture, and many other objects grouped by dynasties. On the first level, you can see the remains of the Arab Wall of Madrid. The museum also has several interactive resources of various kinds that help to understand the history of the museum's collections. The nearest metro station is Opera, lines 2 and 5. The Royal Collections Gallery is open from Monday to Sunday. Admission is paid, but from Monday to Thursday, at the end of the day, Europeans and Latin Americans enter free of charge. Bring your ID or passport to benefit from this advantage. On the 9th floor of the El Corte Inglés department store in Callao is the Gourmet experience, a section of the store with select products and several bars. And next to this section is a very interesting viewpoint with excellent views of Madrid, including much of the Madrid of the Austrias, the historic center of the city, and the hustle and bustle of Gran Vía with the iconic Schweppes billboard. There is an enclosed observation deck and also an open-air terrace. The Callao Metro is almost on the doorstep. The Gourmet experience is open from Monday to Sunday. Access to the viewpoint is free. To get there, enter the store and look for the elevators to the right of the entrance. Gran Vía Street, or simply Gran Vía, is one of the most important avenues in Madrid. It stretches from Alcalá Street to Plaza de España. In the mid-19th century, Madrid's urban planners decided to create a new Grand Avenue. Decades later, work had not yet begun, and the press ridiculed the project, calling it Gran Vía, Great Avenue. Finally, the project was approved in 1904, and work began 2 years later. The last section of the avenue was completed in 1929. The avenue is considered a showcase of 20th century architectural styles such as Viennese, Secession, Plateresque, Neo-Mudéjar, and Art Deco. Gran Vía is famous for its stores and also for being the street that never sleeps due to its legendary nightlife. Along the way, you will see countless stores, hotels, and theaters. The tourist industry likes to call the final stretch of Gran Vía the Spanish Broadway. Along its extension, the Gran Vía has several metro stations served by different lines. A hotel terrace with a view has almost become a commonplace in Madrid. There are many scattered around the city, but none as spectacular and with such breathtaking views as the rooftop bar 360 of the Hotel Riu in Plaza de España. The viewpoint is at the top of the classic Edificio España, one of the most impressive skyscrapers in Madrid, now partly occupied by the Hotel Riu. The viewpoint consists of several levels, with terraces and bars scattered in several corners and stunning views wherever you look. The highlight is a transparent platform that juts out into the void and challenges the vertigo of anyone who climbs on it to take a picture. The Hotel Riu is next to the Plaza de España subway station, lines 3 and 10. Access is paid and the price changes according to the time of the day. It is a very busy place and it is common to see long lines waiting to go up. In the neighborhood of Malasaña is one of the most unknown treasures of Madrid, the Iglesia de San Antonio de los Alemanes, Church of Saint Anthony of the Germans. It was built in the 17th century as part of a hospital that served Portuguese pilgrims in Madrid. With the loss of Portugal, the church was donated to the community of German Catholics who accompanied the wife of Charles II to Madrid. The church is oval in plan and its walls and dome are covered with fresco paintings by prominent artists of the time, including scenes from the life of Saint Anthony of Padua, to whom the church is dedicated. The nearest metro station is Callao, lines 3 and 5. The church is open Monday through Saturday and closed in August. The entrance fee includes an audio guide. The Jardines de Sabatini, the Sabatini Gardens, are located on the north side of the Royal Palace. The gardens follow a French neoclassical geometric design and feature well-pruned hedges, geometric motifs, a pond, statues and fountains. Their construction began in 1935 under the government of the Spanish Republic. Although they were designed by a Spanish architect, they bear the name of the Italian Francesco Sabatini, who designed the royal stables that previously occupied this space. The gardens were not open to the public until 1978. The Plaza de España metro station, lines 3 and 10, is the closest to the gardens. They are open Monday through Sunday and admission is free. The Jardines del Campo del Moro, the gardens of the Moorish camp, are so called because it is said that a Muslim warlord camped here with his troops in 1109 during an attempt to reconquer Madrid. The monarch Philip IV was the first to try to improve the area, building fountains and planting various types of vegetation. The lack of economic resources made improvements impossible until the reign of Isabel II, when work began in earnest. In accordance with the taste of the time, the park was designed in a romantic style. Fountains were brought from the royal palace of Aranjuez and curved paths were built. The gardens have two neoclassical fountains. During the regency of Maria Cristina of Austria, restoration work began to create the current 19th century English garden design. The closest metro station to the gardens is Príncipe Pío on lines 6, 10 and R. The gardens have different opening hours depending on the time of the year, and admission is free. Madrid Río, Madrid River, is a gigantic linear park bordering Madrid's main river, the Manzanares. In the 1970s, the M30 ring road that followed the course of the Manzanares River was a major scar on the city. In 2000, the Madrid City Council presented a project to renovate the banks of the Manzanares. Madrid Rio was born. To begin with, the council placed the M30 25 meters below the river. With the avenue underground, the city council prepared the ground for an international competition to urbanize the banks of the Manzanares. Along its 7 kilometers length, countless points of interest, historical buildings, monuments, sports and cultural facilities, and many places for children's entertainment, including plenty of water in the hottest summer months. They all make Madrid Rio a meeting point for many locals during the 12 months of the year. Along the way, you will find many signs with information about the history, plants, and wildlife. There will still appear in the video some highlights worth visiting along the Madrid Rio. On a day with good weather, Madrid Rio is a sensational walk that can be completed in half a day, starting from Plaza Legazpi, metro station lines 3 and 6, and ending near Príncipe Pío station, lines 6, 10 and R. Matadero Madrid is a former slaughterhouse converted into a cultural center. This lively and constantly changing space has an intense program in different artistic areas: fine arts, visual arts, theatre, music, literature, new media, design and architecture. The slaughterhouse and cattle market was built between 1910 and 1926. It soon became one of the most unique industrial establishments of the 20th century architecture in Madrid. The project was articulated around a set of pavilions characterized by functionality, constructive rationality, and conceptual simplicity. The buildings were used as slaughterhouses until 1996. In 2003, the Madrid City Council decided to convert this space into the cultural center you can visit today. The nearest metro station is Legazpi, lines 3 and 6. The Matadero is open from Monday to Sunday, and the visit to the open and some enclosed spaces is free. The Mercado de San Miguel, the San Miguel market, is one of the few Art Nouveau iron structures that can still be seen in Madrid. It was a local market that opened its doors in 1916. After almost closing its doors in the last decade of the 20th century, it was bought by a group of investors. In 2009, privatized and refurbished, the market reopened as a gastronomic center. The market is occupied by bars serving drinks and tapas and has a small central seating area. The program in the market is to eat, and almost all the bars and stalls serve food. As we have warned several times here on the channel, the market is a place to stroll and contemplate the architecture. Only tourists who are unaware of the prices of things end up eating at the market, which is not a good place to sample Madrid's culinary delights due to the super inflated prices. Both the Opera Station on lines 2 and 5 and the Sol Station on lines 1, 2 and 3 can be used to reach the Mercado de San Miguel, which is open from Monday to Sunday. The Mirador de la Cornisa del Palacio Real, the viewpoint of the cornice of the Royal Palace, is one of the newest viewpoints in Madrid, overlooking the Campo del Moro just below the Royal Palace and the Casa de Campo. It has a very privileged location between the cathedral and the Royal Palace. Access is through a beautiful, more than 50 meters long gate, designed in the 19th century to surround the Royal Palace. The Opera Metro Station lines 2 and 5 is the closest to the viewpoint, which is free of charge and open from Monday to Sunday. In the Palacio de Cibeles, which is still going to appear on the video, today the headquarters of the Madrid City Hall, you will find what is known as the Mirador Madrid. The viewpoint surrounds the main tower of the building and offers a complete panoramic view of Madrid with information panels that will help you identify the places you can see from the viewpoint. Access to the viewpoint is paid and tickets are purchased at the counter located in the main lobby of the building. The number of people in the viewpoint is limited and visitors go up in groups at pre-established times. Access is by elevator and several flights of stairs. The nearest metro station is Banco de España, line 2, and the viewpoint is open from Tuesday to Sunday. We recommend you book your time slot in advance. The Museo Arqueológico Nacional, the National Archaeological Museum, also known by its acronym MAN, is one of the most fascinating museums in Madrid. The museum was founded in 1867 by royal decree of Isabella II. The aim was to create a space to store the collections of coins, archaeology, ethnography, and decorative arts that had been treasured by the Spanish monarchs. The building is shared by the National Library of Spain. Highlights include prehistoric pieces from all over Spain, Hispano-Roman pieces, and a small but very select collection of objects from ancient Egypt and the Near East. The most famous piece in the museum is the Dama de Elche, an originally polychrome bust discovered by chance in 1897 in Elche. The museum is an ideal place to take children to have fun with educational experiences. The Serrano station on Metro Line 4 is close to the museum. The museum is open from Tuesday to Sunday. Admission is paid, but there are free opening hours. The Museo Nacional del Prado, or simply Museo del Prado, the Prado Museum, with more than 200 years of history, is the most prominent museum in Madrid, the most important museum in Spain, and one of the most important art galleries in the world. It would be impossible to list the most important works that can be seen in the museum, but it has a spectacular collection of works by Goya, Velázquez, and El Bosco, as well as many Spanish, Italian, and Flemish artists. And do you know how the Prado is best appreciated? In small doses. The Estación del Arte metro station, line 1, is the closest to the museum. The museum is open Monday through Sunday. Admission is paid, but during the last 2 opening hours of each day, admission is free. The Museo del Traje, the Museum of Costume, was created in 2004 from collections that already existed in the 20th century on other museums. It occupies a modern 20th century building and has been recently remodeled. The museum offers a journey throughout the history of Spain from the 17th century to the present day through its collections of clothing and accessories, with information panels that help to contextualize the era and its transformations. It is a beautiful museum, a must for anyone interested in history. Bus lines 46, 160 and 161 stop near the museum. The museum is open from Tuesday to Sunday, access is paid, but there are free opening hours. In the Chamberí neighborhood is the amazing Museo Geominero, the Geomining Museum, which occupies a listed building from the early 20th century, with a magnificent central hall full of wooden showcases and covered with stained glass. The aim of the museum is to preserve and make known the rich Spanish geological and paleontological heritage. It is an excellent place to go with children and, in our opinion, is one of the most beautiful museums in Madrid, especially for the building that houses it. The metro station Rio Rosas, line 1, is close to the museum. It is open from Monday to Sunday and admission is free. The Museo Lázaro Galdiano is a museum that occupies a former palace in the Salamanca neighborhood, a very exclusive area of Madrid. The museum exhibits the incredible art collection of private collector José Lázaro Galdiano, consisting of 4,800 pieces displayed on the 4 floors of the palace. The museum was completely remodeled at the beginning of the 21st century. Its collection includes paintings as well as sculptures, ceramics, medals, weapons, jewelry, and textiles. Among the highlights of the museum are works by El Bosco, Goya, Greco, and Zurbarán. The Gregorio Marañón metro station, lines 7 and 10, is the closest to the museum. It is open from Tuesday to Sunday, admission is charged, but there are free hours from Tuesday to Friday. The Museo Nacional Centro de Arte Reina Sofía, or just Reina Sofía, is one of the great museums of Madrid. It occupies a neoclassical building that was once a hospital. It was inaugurated as the Reina Sofía Art Center in 1986. The 3 towers with glass elevators were added in 1988. At the beginning of the 21st century, French architect Jean Nouvel was responsible for the latest expansion of the museum. The Reina Sofía has an exceptional collection of modern and contemporary Spanish art, with masterpieces by Dalí, Miro, Gris, and Picasso. The Reina Sofía houses one of the most important paintings in history, Picasso's Guernica. The metro station Estación del Arte, line 1, is the closest to the museum. The museum opens from Wednesdays to Mondays and closes on Tuesdays. Admission is paid, but there are free hours during the last 2 opening hours of each day. Along with the Reina Sofía and the Prado, the Museo Nacional Thyssen-Bornemisza completes the trilogy of extraordinary museums in Madrid. The collection contains work assembled by Baron Thyssen-Bornemisza and which traveled to the Villahermosa Palace to be established as a museum in 1992 in collaboration with the Spanish government. It is a very rich and extensive collection with works from many historical periods, with paintings ranging from the 13th to the 20th century. The nearest metro station is Banco de España on line 2. The museum is open from Monday to Sunday. Admission is paid, except on Mondays when it is free. The Museo Sorolla, the Sorolla Museum, is very special because it occupies the home and a studio of the great Spanish painter Joaquín Sorolla. In addition to admiring the wonderful works of Sorolla, an artist with a unique sensibility, visitors can tour the artist's house and the master's everyday objects. The beautiful garden, designed by Sorolla himself, is an incredible oasis in the middle of Madrid. In addition to paintings, the museum houses sculptures, ceramics, jewelry and photographs. Currently, the Sorolla Museum is closed for a major renovation scheduled for completion in 2026. The Gregorio Marañón metro station on lines 7 and 10 is close to the museum. The most important building in the Plaza de Cibeles, a square we will visit later, is the Palacio de Cibeles, formerly the Telecommunications Palace and now known as Centro. The building, which looks like a cathedral, was built in 1909 to be the headquarters of the Spanish Post Office. The spectacular building housed the Postal and Telegraph Museum until 2007, when it became the new headquarters of the Madrid City Council. In addition to the part where civil servants work, Centro has more than 5,000 square meters of exhibition spaces on several floors. These spaces host artistic projects and initiatives on urban culture that reflect the character of the city and its inhabitants. Visits to the exhibitions are free of charge. The nearest metro station is Banco de España, line 2, and the center is open from Tuesday to Sunday. Visits are free of charge. The Palacio de Cristal de Arganzuela, the Crystal Palace of Arganzuela, is a former warehouse that was part of the Arganzuela slaughterhouse. It was popularly known as the Potato Warehouse. In the decoration of the exterior metal structure can be seen several cow heads that recall the former use of the building. This palace should not be confused with the palace of the same name that can be seen in the Retiro Park. Today the building is a botanical garden and greenhouse with more than 9,000 plants and 800 tropical and subtropical species. It has 4 enclosed sections that recreate 4 microclimates: 2 tropical, 1 subtropical and 1 desert full of cacti. The nearest metro station is Legazpi, lines 3 and 6, and it is open from Tuesday to Sunday. Admission is free. The Palacio Real de Madrid, the Royal Palace of Madrid, is one of the largest in Europe and has 2,800 rooms, 50 of which are open to the public. Contrary to what many people imagine, the Royal Palace is not the residence of the Spanish royal family who live in the Zarzuela Palace. However, the palace is still used for official banquets, state ceremonies and other important events. The present palace was built on the site of the Alcázar, which was destroyed by fire on Christmas Eve 1734. King Philip V commissioned a palace for his dynasty and the work was completed in 1755. The royal palace would be the main residence of the kings of Spain until 1931, when King Alfonso XIII went into exile after the triumph of the Republicans in the elections. The visit to the palace allows you to visit magnificent spaces of great beauty as well as the royal armory, included in the entrance to the palace. The nearest metro station is Opera, lines 2 and 5. The Royal Palace is open from Monday to Sunday. Access is paid, but from Monday to Thursday, at the end of the day, Europeans and Latin Americans enter for free. Bring your ID or passport with you to enjoy this advantage. The Panteón de España, the Pantheon of Spain, formerly known as the Pantheon of the Illustrious Men, was built in the late 19th century in a neo-medieval style reminiscent of Byzantine art. It has a central courtyard and 3 naves that enclose it. The idea of building the Pantheon was inspired by other examples in Europe. In the Pantheon you can see mausoleums of politicians and military men who were very important in the history of Spain. Although their names may not ring a bell, the sculptures are magnificent. The Atocha station, Metro Line 1, is the closest to the Pantheon. The The Pantheon is open from Tuesday to Sunday and admission is free. We have already seen that the Parque de Atracciones de Madrid, Madrid's amusement park, is inside the Casa de Campo. The park is organized into 4 theme areas. One for children, other with several water rides as well as roller coasters, a third for those who shy away from strong emotions, and finally the area of the park that concentrates the most radical attractions. If you are a park specialist, if you have been to countless parks in the USA and other parts of the world, the one in Madrid is probably not for you. The Madrid park is a good plan for those with children or for those who have a day off in the city, perhaps on a hot day, and want to have a lot of fun. We certainly had so much fun in the park. The Batan metro station on line 10 is 5 minutes from one of the park's gates. Hours and ticket prices depend on the time of the year. The Parque del Buen Retiro, or simply Parque del Retiro, the Retiro Park, is one of the largest parks in Madrid and the most famous. The park belonged to the Spanish monarchy until the end of the 19th century, when it became a public park. This magnificent green area is full of beautiful sculptures, monuments, palaces and lakes. It is an ideal place for a leisurely stroll. Among the many highlights within the park is the Crystal Palace, a glass and steel structure built in the late 19th century, which often hosts temporary exhibitions, and the large artificial lake with a monument to Alfonso XII. Renting a boat for a ride on the lake is a classic program in Madrid. There are several metro stations near the park, including Retiro on line 2. The park is open from the beginning of the day until the end, and admission is free. We now turn our attention to the Plaza de Cibeles, which we visited earlier in the video. In the center of the square is the Cibeles fountain. The fountain is one of the most famous images of Madrid. It shows the goddess Cibeles sitting on a chariot pulled by 2 lions. It was built in the 19th century, and it is a place where Real Madrid soccer fans celebrate the club's achievements. 4 important buildings surround the square. The most important is the Palacio de Cibeles, which we have already seen. Opposite the Palacio de Cibeles is the Palacio de Buenavista, headquarters of the Spanish army. To one side is the Banco de España, the Bank of Spain, a colossal building where the gold of Spain is kept. And to the other side is the Palacio de Linares, today home to the Casa de América, a cultural and artistic center focused on Latin America. The Banco de España metro station, line 2, is very close to the square. The Plaza de España, Spain Square, located at one end of the Gran Vía, is one of the largest squares in the city and a popular meeting point. The square has recently been remodeled and given a new look. The square is guarded by 2 of Madrid's tallest buildings, the Torre de Madrid and the gigantic Edificio España. In the center of the square is a monument to the Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes. The tower of the monument includes a stone sculpture of Cervantes, which looks down to bronze sculptures of Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. The Plaza de España metro station, lines 3 and 10, is in the square itself. The Plaza de la Villa, the Villa Square, is a small picturesque square surrounded on 3 sides by well-preserved examples of typical Madrid Baroque style. It nicely combines brick, exposed stone and wrought iron. The largest building in the square was once a jail and Casa de la Villa, City Hall. The building was the seat of the Madrid City Hall from the Middle Ages until very recently, when the City Hall moved to the grandiose Palacio de Cibeles, which has already appeared on our list. In the center of the square is a statue of Admiral Álvaro de Bazán, one of the commanders of the Spanish Armada. The Opera Station on Metro Lines 2 and 5 is the closest to the square. The Plaza de Oriente, the eastern square, is on the east side of the Royal Palace, hence its name. This square is an oasis of peace and tranquility. The gardens follow a semicircular design with wide paths in the center. One of the paths is surrounded by 44 statues of Spanish kings from the Middle Ages. It includes monarchs from the Gothic period to the 15th century. In the center of the square is a gigantic equestrian statue of King Philip IV. It follows a design by Velázquez. Opposite the Royal Palace at the eastern end of the square is the Teatro Real, Madrid's opera house. There are many cafes around the square. The most famous is probably the Café de Oriente, which has a wonderful terrace to sit and contemplate the views of the square, with prices well above average, as you would expect. The Opera metro station, lines 2 and 5, is very close to the square. The Plaza Mayor, the main square, was built during the reign of Philip III. It is rectangular in shape and it is surrounded by 3-story residential buildings. The initial plan was a large square surrounded by wooden buildings of up to 6 stories, but several fires destroyed the buildings. The current appearance of the square corresponds to the most recent reconstruction. The Plaza Mayor has been the scene of many events. Markets, bullfights, soccer matches, public executions. The most prominent building in the square is the Casa de la Panadería, the house of the bakery, whose facade is covered with frescoes. On the opposite end of the Plaza Mayor is a similar building, also with 2 towers with spires. It's the Casa de la Carnicería, the house of the butcher's shop. In the center is an equestrian statue of Philip III that originally stood in the Casa de Campo. Both the Opera Station, lines 2 and 5, and the Sol Station, lines 1, 2 and 3, serve to reach the Plaza Mayor. At the end of the first decade of the 21st century, the Madrid City Council commissioned the French architect Dominique Perrault to build an incredible work of art, a modern footbridge over the river to link the neighborhoods of Arganzuela and Carabanchel. Designed for pedestrians and cyclists, the footbridge consists of 2 metal cylinders of spectacular dimensions. Each cylinder rests on 2 pillars at each end, giving the impression that the walkway floats in the air. Made of steel, the main structure has 2 spirals running diagonally across it. A silver band of metal mesh surrounds the structure and protects users from the sand and inclement weather. The base of the walkway has wooden slats and the area is lit at night. The nearest metro stations are Marqués de Vadillo and Pirámides on line 5. In the middle of the Plaza de la Independencia stands one of the best-known images of Madrid, the Puerta de Alcalá Gate. In 1764, King Charles III commissioned the Italian architect Francesco Sabatini to build a large gate to replace an earlier small Baroque gate. The king considered the Baroque gate to be too small considering the importance of the road leading to Aragon. Sabatini's neoclassical design, made of granite, has 3 large arches and 2 smaller rectangular gates. Each of the gates is decorated with a lion's head. The construction of the gate took 9 years and was finally completed in 1778. The Retiro metro station, Red Line 2, is next to the gate. Puerta del Sol is the perfect place to start any visit to Madrid. This square, located in the center of the city, is one of the busiest places in the capital. The name of the square is reminiscent of a gate that stood here in the 15th century. On the east side of the square is the statue of El Oso y el Madroño. It represents a large stone and bronze bear trying to eat the fruit of a madroño, a typical tree of Madrid. At the opposite end of the square there is an equestrian statue of King Charles III. The king was one of the most important monarchs in the history of Spain, responsible for a series of urban improvements in the city of Madrid. In the front of the statue of the king is a red brick building, the Casa de Correos, which today is the seat of the regional government of the Community of Madrid. On top of the building is the famous clock used for New Year's celebrations. And in front of the building, a large plaque on the ground marks the kilometer 0 for roads in Spain. The Sol metro station, lines 1, 2 and 3, is in the square itself. El Rastro is one of the oldest flea markets in Europe. Its origins date back to 1740. In the area now occupied by the Rastro were the tanneries, the leather processing industry. In fact, the name Rastro comes from the trail of animal blood that was left on the ground. At El Rastro you will find a little bit of everything. Antiques and decorative objects, footwear, costume jewelry, new and used clothing, handicrafts, pet supplies, cosmetics, furniture, accessories, fabrics, toys, stationery. The goods are distributed in the 3,500 stores that occupies the extensive area of the Rastro. Two metro stations that will bring you close to the Rastro are La Latina and Puerta de Toledo, both on Line 5. The Rastro is held every Sunday and public holiday. In the heart of Madrid is the smallish Real Jardín Botánico, the Royal Botanical Garden of Madrid. It contains some 5,000 different species of trees and plants from all over the world. It is no coincidence that the garden is next to the Prado Museum. When the Prado Museum was created by Charles III, it was the Museum of Natural Sciences, and the monarch wanted to create in this space a complex dedicated to science. The garden has several greenhouses and themed trails, such as the one that visits 15 extraordinary trees. In addition, inside the garden there is always an interesting exhibition organized by the research institution. The nearest metro station is Estación del Arte, Line 1. The garden opens at 10 a.m. and closes at the end of the day, depending on the month of the year. Admission is paid, but there are free opening hours. The Santiago Bernabéu is the stadium of Real Madrid, also known as Chamartín, which is the name of the district of Madrid where the stadium is located. The stadium was inaugurated in 1947. It has undergone several renovations, including the most recent, almost completely finished, which left it with a capacity for 81,000 fans. The Santiago Bernabéu is one of Madrid's most visited tourist attractions, and to satisfy the curiosity of fans, Real Madrid markets a tour known as the Bernabéu Tour. The Santiago Bernabéu metro station, Line 10, is next to the stadium. The Bernabéu Tour is offered Monday through Sunday, except when there is a match or other events at the stadium. The Teleférico de Madrid, the Madrid cable car, connects the urbanized part of the capital with the center of the Casa de Campo, flying over the river, the ring road, and part of the green heart of the city. It is a fantastic ride with magnificent views of the city and the Casa de Campo from an unusual and changing perspective. The cable car has 80 cabins with capacity for 6 people each. It takes 11 minutes to travel the almost 2.5 kilometers, 1.5 miles. At the final station of the Casa de Campo, you can take a walk and contemplate the views and then get back on the cable car or walk back to the center as you prefer. The nearest metro station is Argüelles on lines 3, 4 and 6. The cable car is paid. It is currently closed for a major refurbishment and is expected to be back in operation in early 2026. The Temple of Debod is the only piece of Egyptian architecture that can be seen in Spain. It was originally built 15 kilometers south of Aswan in southern Egypt, very close to the first waterfall of the Nile. In 1960, the threat posed to the archaeological heritage by the Aswan Dam construction project forced UNESCO to appeal to the countries of the world to help preserve the rich historical legacy of the region. In gratitude for the help received to save the Abu Simbel complex, in 1968 the Egyptian government donated the Temple of Debod to Spain. In the park where the temple stands, there is a beautiful viewpoint overlooking the Casa de Campo and other parts of Madrid. The nearest metro station is Plaza de España, lines 3 and 10. The exterior of the temple can be visited 24 hours a day, the interior from Tuesday to Sunday. The visit is free, but it is essential to book your ticket in advance online. To help you optimize your time in Madrid and make the most of your visit, we have published our very own Madrid walking tours. They are electronic guides of our own that will take you through the most important must-see parts of Madrid, including food stops along the way. No need to rack your brains on how to visit Madrid. We've done that work for you. Our series of Madrid walking tours are part of our collection of self-guided walking tours dedicated to the most important cities in Spain and published through our Travel Guide Spain and Portugal brand. After the tour around Madrid, you may have some questions. Take advantage of the commentary box to ask. On the screen you will see now our list of videos dedicated to the city of Madrid, a complete compilation of information to make your visit to the capital of Spain perfect. We are waiting for you from now in those videos.